Okay. All right. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. StreamYard with all their new toys and all their things. I don't know what's going on, Jayme, but you get to play the music over. We're talking. Something's happening in the morning with when I'm talking. I think it's the volume issue. We have to figure it out. But welcome to the show, everybody. You're back on the TruthWire. We've been gone for a couple weeks. We've been on assignment doing certain things. I am your host, of course, Craig Pastor-Jardula. Along with me right now is my main man from the home was left and rocking his shows over on his Rumble and on his second YouTube channels. He knows what it's like fighting against the censorship, the suppression, the shadow banning. He always says, you know him, you love him. Well, you know him, you love him. Ladies and gentlemen, Matty Weinglass is with us.
Good to be back. Glad to see TruthWire is rocking and rolling. So yeah, here we go. Let's do it, man.
I want to apologize for saying Matty Weinglass, but it is getting close to fantasy football draft season. And, you know you got this basketball player, sports side of you. So I'm kind of feeling that vibe right now. Of course, I have my New York Knicks NBA champions mug. Sure. Congratulations on the Lakers. I think they're being sold to a Kushner.
They are. The little
I hate my
brother.
So don't worry about it. Here's the thing,
Kushner Matt. Brother, as they say.
Here's the thing, Matt. The
grabbing
people in LA are the owners of the Lakers. They truly own the Lakers. That person who says he's the owner is just holding the title. Everybody else gets the ride. They don't exist without the fans. I'm not a Laker fan at all, but I'm happy for my friends who are Laker fans when they get to win the NBA title and stuff. I don't know how long it's going to be till you get back there. We'll see. Things seem to be getting crazy in the East. But I did call you Matty because I did feel like it's sports season. You don't play fantasy football, do you?
No, never got into it, but I respect it. I appreciate it. I can see how it can definitely become a lifestyle of sorts. So, yeah.
The thing is that you're such a nice guy and you're so good to your friends that I'm surprised none of your friends roped you into it. I guess you're that good of a friend that they didn't put that guilt on you and make you join a league because, man, if you were hanging with me for the last couple of years, I'd be like, Matty, come on, man. It's the guys. You hang. We're going to have a good fantasy party and good food and the conversations. And Tommy's into politics and Dale's into COVID stuff. Come on, man. I'd be doing that to you.
I mean, I would be saying right back at you, let's get out on the basketball court, play a little 3-on-3, and we can do the same thing, but also get some nice physical exercise activity at the same time. So that's where I would say.
That's a great idea, and I think we should start a fantasy football, basketball pickup game, but you got to join the league first, Matty, so we can then pitch it. Okay. So why don't you join? Give me your email address. I'll shoot you on over the link.
I will consider it.
Yeah. I do have a league that it's going to be kind of weird this year. I lost one of my closest friends in January. Turbo cancer of sorts. He was diagnosed 13 months later. It was a league he started when he was like 12 years old. And, he lived to 47, 35 years of that league. It's a carryover league. I joined it years ago. I left it and came back into it. And all his close friends that he went to high school with and played football with, they're in the league. They're part of my family now. So I'm going to probably go up to Jersey for a weekend to go do the draft with them. And that's going to be something significant. I don't mean to bring that into play, but it's just often on my mind as we are starting to talk about these things. And, while we're waiting for Fiorella to get here, and she should be here any second, for our audience, maybe you can just give us a little bit of your opinion about where we're at. We just had this Twitter space where we didn't get as deep into the COVID as I thought we should. I made a call to Ron. Ron Pacone he's out of the country. He'll be back soon. But when he does, he wants to pick back up and get back to work and do that show again. I think there's some interest there because I think Ron and Layla meeting you for the first time, doing a show with you for the first time, have respect for you. And that means they'll have respect for your opinions. And that's why I think where we make some work, we get some headway, I think is the word, whatever, make an impact of sorts, which we really do have to, because I do believe that it's not even what happened before and nobody was accountable for, Matt. It's what's happening now. As I mentioned, my friend from the Fantasy Football League, and yes, he did take a booster. can maybe for our audience, since you've been doing such a great job with it on your show and the Twitter space, obviously, that we had, which was a lot of fun on a Sunday, give us your opinion about where you think we're at with the whole Fauci situation and COVID as a whole. I know Dr. David Martin's been saying some stuff and been getting kind of back into the limelight. And I'll give you my opinions about that as we go along. But ladies and gentlemen, Matt Weinglass.
Yeah, no, I think that off the bat, I mean, just to the general assessment is it's always good that we have a reason and an opportunity to talk about this without people saying, hey, that's in the distance past, let it go. Didn't COVID happen 4, 5, 6 years ago? Never mind that anymore. So that's the good news. We can actually talk about it right now. We can talk about what happened with the Fauci hearing. We can talk about all the, the text messages, the release, and we can talk about the contempt of court. We can talk about all this stuff the Trump's administration is pushing right now, literally investing in pharma. RFK Jr. giving $1 billion to Pfizer, and no one's talking about that one. There's $1 billion for more COVID mRNA, just rolling out more vaccines. That's adults and children. It's going out to all of them. So on one hand, yes, you can say, oh, yay, we just lowered the vaccine recommendations for children from 72 to 11. So that's great news. However, you can just look a little closer, and we can talk about this further, when Fiorella gets in. But like the idea is that, look, at least we're having the conversation again, and we're not feeling like it's outdated, because it's never outdated, because this is affecting our friends and family and colleagues and people in our communities every day. As you mentioned, your friend, we have people, they just drop dead for whatever reason. We have to get used to this new normal. People know we do a segment on our show on the homeless left. We know what it's not, and we have to report on these. Getting used to the fact that young, healthy people are just, having these heart failures, having these rapid cancers. Rapid cancer wasn't even a term that anybody used. It wasn't a thing before 2021. Now it's normal. So we have to get used to this new normal. But no, this is never going to be in the rearview mirror. We have to keep talking about it. And I'll say this, look, and you mentioned Dr. David Martin. We can talk about this too, as well, as far as how much he's calling out that's part of the controlled op. And we can look at what Ron Johnson's doing. We can look at what Rand Paul's doing and say they're only doing them very, very bare minimal. And I mentioned RFK, Trump. I mean, they're doing less than minimal. They're doing these bait and switches on us. So there's so much corruption, even in the movement that's supposed to be the pushback. It's supposed to be the Maha movement. There's so much corruption there. What is it that we can actually do? And I'll just say this. The thing we can actually do about it is we can use these opportunities where this topic comes up, and we can start rehashing it. You mentioned Ron Placone. I'm excited to have an opportunity to have a follow-up discussion. That's what we all need to do. We need to look in our personal lives. We need to have these follow-up conversations with people that told us to drop the topic 5 years ago. I've had family members tell me, don't ever bring up COVID again. Hey, I like what you're doing on the homeless left. I'm very interested in that Israel stuff, but can you do me a favor and never, ever bring up COVID ever again? Can you do that for me? So those are the conversations I've had. Yeah, and now is maybe an opportunity to say, hey, you want to circle back to that now? And so the thing that we need to be discussing is the moral elements and the principle elements that we're still not there. We're close. Yeah. Like we're really close. But what is ethical? What is not? How we treated each other, how we shamed and bullied and ridiculed. We're not going to forget that. We're going to go back to that, and we're going to try to evolve as a group, moving forward.
I think so. And let me bring in our other co-host for today. Of course, she's back, ladies and gentlemen, from assignment, and she's got a lot to say about this too as well. She was in the trenches. We were in the trenches together, me, her, and Johnny Tsunami. Ladies and gentlemen, back from assignment for God knows how long until the next assignment. Ladies and gentlemen, Fiorella Isabel's here.
Hi. Yes, I'm alive. I'm back.
Hey, Fee.
Hey, guys. Good to be with you here today. This is my first show in like 3 weeks or something like that. Something ridiculously long for me.
What have you been doing for 3 weeks, huh?
Well, I got married.
I can break the ice.
Breaking news! Since Pasta basically told the entire world. Anyway,
I did not. I said I was going to a wedding in Peru. I didn't say who. I never said your name.
Yeah, so that happened. And Pasta was there, and he won awards for his dancing, which I was not a judge of, so I can't confirm nor deny if they were worthy
They
of
didn't
any
let you
awards.
dancing fraud on me.
So, yeah, it was cool. Jayme would have appreciated the Star Wars. There's a Star Wars moment.
Oh my
I'll have to
God.
share
Oh,
with Jayme. Yeah, I'm a Star Wars person, and so is my
Yeah.
husband. God, it's so weird to say that.
Mhm.
And so we brought in Darth Vader and this whole thing. I'll eventually share some stuff.
Yeah.
I've just been so busy with a lot of things. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad to be back.
And
Excellent. Congratulations, Fee.
yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
Yes.
A lot of parallels to a lot of other weddings I went to, but I got to be honest with you too. There's a lot of Bad Bunny. The over/under for Bad Bunny went over. There was more than 5 Bad Bunny songs at Fiorella's wedding. Thank God. For those people out there who I don't like Bad Bunny, for all the single guys that say I don't like Bad Bunny, you have obviously not been in a Latin American country on the dance floor with the ability to dance, and a Bad Bunny song goes on.
I can attest to that as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. I know you've experienced that, Matt.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
my Lord, I think I have to dance with 3 ladies at one time, 3 women at one time. Some of them are ladies, some of them women.
Someone
But,
has to do it.
thank God
Someone
I can
has to
handle it. But yes, I did win an award, and it's kind of awesome that there were Star Wars characters at Fiorella's wedding. I fell into the ditch, by the way, into this whole thing. I went flying back football style. I mean, I broke glassware, lamps, and everything. That it was 53 years old, and then got up and danced the rest of the night, and then won the dance contest the next day. Holler at your boy. But somebody mentioned Chewbacca in a speech, and we saw Chewbacca on the dance floor, so it was pretty awesome. But boys and girls, let's get to work because there's a lot of things to talk about. I love to talk about your wedding all the time. Today with Lieutenant Colonel Karen Kwiatkowski on the Drive Time morning show, we talked a little bit about this presidency. I have a tweet, and Jayme, if you could put up the tweet, because I'd like to read the tweet to these guys. We got to get Matt and Fiorella's opinion on this. Go ahead and bring it up. Go back a little bit. Oh, wait. Sorry, this was a commercial. We were supposed to play the commercial. I wanted you to play the commercial in the beginning. I forgot to tell you. But play the commercial real quick. Take a look at this, guys. You'll love this. I don't know who did this, but AI won the internet.
Tired of gas prices? Tired of the war? Come see it. Introducing Trump Cruise to Hormuz. We got Mar-a-Lago face babes, Kid Rock, YMCA, but not gay, McDonald's 24/7. Nobody's done that on a boat. It's safe, it's beautiful, and kids eat free. Now look, the war costs every family $1,000. You're already paying. So for $4,000 more, you're on the boat. Call in the next 10 minutes. We'll throw in a second week. Nobody's leaving anyway. Great deal. Call now.
Total conflict cost estimated $600 billion. Cruise fare non-refundable. In the event of escalation, entertainment schedule continues as planned. Strait conditions may vary.
It'd be really funny if it wasn't so true. Guys, an amazing read. Please go out and get this, The Art of the Deal, Donald J. Trump. It's a great book. It says you got to bluff 7 times before you really mean it. I mean, this would be it's hysterical, whoever made it, the AI, whatever, but it's also very, very true. And now you can put up my tweet real quick because I'll go right into it. And I said to Karen this morning, and like I said, I'd love to hear from you guys. My tweet, the one before this, it should be there. It's not there? Never mind. But I said, at what point do we not hold the marketing accountable for what's going on? Here is Donald Trump again, a little video we have of him saying out loud that the United States Navy controls the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, how? Here he is. Listen, 15 seconds.
Iran is going fine, going just absolutely fine. We totally control the Strait of Hormuz. We have control over it. Nobody else, only us. Our Navy is unbelievable, and things are going great for our country. Go ahead. Iran is going fine.
So I said, when do we finally stop this madness? I mean, this presidency is not only the worst presidency of all times, it's probably one of the most embarrassing, right? And I understand that this is all kabuki theater. This is all just make-believe in front of us. But at what point do we not hold the oligarchy at least a little bit to a fraction of what they make believe that they represent, right? That this is supposed to be our institutions. This is the White House, whatnot. I mean, this is just the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my fucking life at this point. This guy is making Joe Biden look good. And hold on to your horses, guys. You guys can jump in at any time you want, but be ready for the Democrats and Gavin Newsom, and even the Obama 2028 shirts are out there. So please, Fee, maybe you want to jump in and start off, ladies first, but go right ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been kind of following a few things for the last few weeks, but I haven't been fully deep on it. And I come back and it's the same cycle that we've been seeing for months over and over again, and nothing has really changed. It's the same type of back and forth that I hear from also the anti-imperialist side, where it's like, oh, the United States is gone, that's it, they're destroyed. And then, then you have another action by Donald Trump saying that everything's great, everything's wonderful, and then things restart all over again. And I'm just kind of, I don't know if I'm done with like you say it's kabuki theater, but I think it's just people sort of eventually tune out, because it's just like you're just wondering what exactly is the point of this, other than continuing to waste more money and continuing to do things as planned. I mean, I see a lot of weakness in the United States right now being exposed, but then again, I see a lot of the same people from Trump's circle continuing to make profits, continuing to get richer, continuing to amass wealth and acquisitions and expand. What we're seeing right now, which in the next section we'll talk about, is the expansion of the United States and Israel into Latin America. So I don't really think that they've lost. I do think in terms of the perspective from a lot of people as to their fortitude, as to who the United States was and represented for the world, I think that image, very much like Israel's, is tarnished, I think, for forever. But I'm kind of getting sick of the whole same cycle. Once like you step out of this for a while, it becomes like a cycle that seems just not real. It seems like a show, which is why it's nice that you played that video, because it really seems like a joke at this point, what we're doing.
Mr. Weinglass.
Yeah. So I mean, there's other emotions involved here. I think for where I'm coming from, I would say, I would still say Joe Biden is the most embarrassing president we've had. This goes beyond embarrassing. This is infuriating to the point that Trump has mastered this art of deception to just enough that you have this base. And Fiorella mentioned the people tuning out. There's a demographic that's tuning out for sure, and that's good for him. So that part's working. You got the tuned out crowd. That means they're not going to be they're not going to be factors in what this administration continues to do over the next several months leading into the primaries, and then ultimately the next 2 years as well, because this is so we know that Iran has said there is no relationship with Trump. We're done with him. They've said very clearly. They've locked it in. They go, the next time we're going to have any discussion with the U.S. is not going to be until January 29th, 2028. They've been very clear about that. So the question isn't how embarrassing is this that Trump is doing this? It's how is he getting away with this? The other demographic we got to consider is that Fox News audience that has doubled down on the scare factor, as we know about the communist fear factor that's in play. The Islam's taking over New York. So we know all the different things that they've been using and rolling out. But the reason they're able to get away with this Iran narrative is because they've told their audience, they've told those viewers, however many of them there are, they've told them, and they're buying this 100%, that don't listen to anything Iran says, because they're less than human. So they have this way they behave where you can't trust them with anything. So if they tell us that they don't want it, they're not talking to us, they're not going to deal with us, they're just lying, and they can't help it because they're subhuman. So that goes back to the racism and the stuff we've discussed on both our shows. And so that's working. So when I step back and look at the whole picture, I'm not seeing the embarrassment as much as I'm seeing how are you able to get away with this? And it's because there's a master manipulation element. And I'll just add in this to remind people about the money being made out in the open. That's the other part that he's mastered, where he's He showed the rest of Congress and the rest of every administration before him and any administration coming after him that there's a method to the corruption that you can do out loud, very loud, in the open, no more closed door meetings. Everything's right in front of your freaking faces. And guess what? No one's going to jail for it. And he's showing this. And it's a brand new model for presidenting. And I think that we need to be more afraid of what's coming after him, because you can guarantee those Democrats are taking notes. They're like, wait, we don't have to do this behind closed doors anymore. We can just invest in AI data centers and then tell everyone, bend over and take it so we can make our that's the new plan, and it's working, and it's scary as shit, I'd say. So I'd say yes, Biden, looking back, Biden is probably the most embarrassing, because he's a guy that couldn't even finish a sentence, or let alone walk off the stage, and that was probably the most humiliating thing we've ever put out on the world stage. This is the most infuriating, and it's pretty scary, the precedent he's setting for what's coming next. Oh,
so you're muted.
Mute.
I said, Fee, I would still choose the guy who runs out of breath. I don't want to say I necessarily choose the guy, but, Joe Biden ran out of breath. The Easter Bunny had to go grab him at times. Jill found him wandering off, looking for ice cream. I get it. Like, it's senile, but this guy, he just says it's the same thing. You dipped out, you came back, and it's the same thing. And guess what? It happens 2 or 3 times the same way while you were gone. Like, this guy has claimed that we control the Strait of Hormuz. On the video that we were playing, it was a tracker of what's going in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. The Navy vessels can't even get close to the Strait of Hormuz because they'll get hit by Iranian ballistic missiles. They keep their distance. Don't they want us to just check out, though? What is the next move if we're trying to present solutions here, Fee?
I don't think we're trying to present solutions. I think they're just trying to continue their eventual capture of West Asia, and they're continuing to do what they're doing, and at great cost to us, and at great cost of lives abroad. But the more they kind of make this a sort of entertainment joke or prolong it, which is we have. People say we don't have the ability or capacity anymore to prolong this, but I think we will, because at the end of the day, if we, the American people, can't afford to live, that is no problem for them. The problem is when they have to dig in their pockets. And right now they're making a lot of money. Like, these wars make them a lot of money. That's the problem that I think people don't understand. Like, even if it seems like a joke, and even if it seems like we're losing, and even if it seems like the United States is falling apart, the people, the elite, the predator elite, are making a lot of money. They're fine. They're continuing on with their lives as if nothing is going on. We're seeing people attacked every day for standing up against Israel, for mentioning something against Israel. We're seeing Latin America completely disappear into the hands of Washington and the Zionists. So I think I don't look at this period as a U.S. defeat as much as a lot of people are looking at it. I look at it as the transformation of what it was into what it is now and what it's trying to do. And it's especially very, very revealing in what's happening in Latin America. So there's a lot to talk about that in those terms as well.
Yeah, I hear people say that today in the morning show we talked about it. They are scared of us, right? The elites are the government's scared of the people. That's why they're putting flock cameras up everywhere. I'm like, I don't know about that. They're scared of us. I think they just found an easier way to quell and control us, catch us early, find out who's going to certain rallies, what they're searching online. You can nip it in the butt before it could even become a problem. And I think that they understand that, and that's why they're doing that. People are also saying that, that they're scared of us when we get in the streets as far as the rallies are concerned. We are losing wars. We lost a war to Iran. We're a dying empire, but I don't see that. I still see them tapping into the reserves, draining that, making a shit ton of money, just like the military industrial complex is making money right now. So did the big pharma. They made money before. So it's like, which set of oligarchs is its turn next after this one? because it seems like they're amplifying all this thing. I think that Pete Hegseth, Matt, went and asked for 1.5 trillion for the budget now for the Pentagon because it's that far out of whack. Your thoughts, buddy?
Well, yeah, no, and this Israel part is very important because we're talking. Yeah, the Pentagon budget is the highest we've ever seen it. That for next year, 1.5 trillion. This is going to include a merger. They're gonna get this done. They happen to be on a recess right now, but they're going to figure out how to get this passed. Because it's now through the House. It's going to pass through the Senate next time. And that's going to merge our militaries legally. We've been doing it illegally this whole time. Now it's going to be legal. So that means the credit card that is available, because again, none of this is real money. This is all credit, right? So you're talking about 1.5 trillion on a credit card that maxes out at about 1.5. Israel will have full access to that. They won't have to come and go on red carpet trips to DC doing laundry in the White House basement, getting 50 standing ovations anymore. They can just charge the card. And so this is what's coming. And it is scary because on one hand, and Pastor, you make a good point. On one hand, you're seeing this utter failure after failure after failure. On paper, we're seeing the failure, but yet what's being presented is these successes. And how are they getting away with these successes? Is because you can present something different than what's actually happening. And isn't that the concept of credit? Isn't that the concept of when you're in debt, yet you can present that you're on top of the world? You can present America first, America number one, even though it's Israel first. You can present we have the greatest system on the planet when the entire thing is rigged. It's rigged on a system where we have to hold people hostage and invade country after country, forcing the petrodollar down people's throats for the last 50 years. So all of it has been fake, but we've mastered the ability of falsehood, right? We've mastered the ability of declaring something true when it's not, and then just writing with that. So that's what Trump has done in this second term, is he's gone to the next level of the art of the deal, as you mentioned. And I know we talk about that in jest, but it's true. It's keep BSing until it's real. But in this case, does it even have to be real? You can just keep BSing forever. You don't actually have to get to that destination. So I think as the empire falls, we're going to go out not kicking and screaming. We're going to go out cheering like we just won the big race and we won our gold medal. As we're falling into the Titanic, falling into the water, we're going to be cheering, we're number one, the entire way to our last breath. That's what's happening.
Well, we won World War II. It wasn't the Russians. I don't care what you heard. It was us. We came on in and we did it. Fam, do you want to make any last statements before we get to the next section? Because I think the next section is going to tie in nicely to what we're talking about, right? The American dollar, the Israeli colonization, it's coming to Latin America. I heard something about Argentina with the fires that were where they were taking place has now been offered up, I guess, by Malay. It looks like just in case they have themselves an exit strategy, just in case Israel falls to Iranian ballistic missiles. But who knows? Fam, your final thoughts on this topic over here?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're seeing is a transition of power from just, nation states to an international global elite. And when you look at it that way, then yes, a lot of them are in the United States and in the West, but it's not just that. And I think that's what we're seeing in the Gulf as well. You'll look at the monarchies, you'll look at some people all over the East even, that are basically, in a way, if you look at China and the United States, sort of race for the dominance of AI and technology. And so what I'm seeing a lot of people now is say, well, if AI and all tech is in the hands of China, then we have nothing to worry about. And I just think that's ridiculous, because either way, this technology for any human being with any sort of faults, which is everybody, is dangerous. It brings a lot of power. It brings a lot of control over so many people. And when you have all of this technology available and you have two global powers, especially competing for it, what you're going to see is a very, very rapid increase in the competition for these resources that help create and maintain these technologies. And what we're seeing with AI right now and all the developments in AI, what we're seeing how that's affected the job market in the United States. I mean, it's, we have one way of looking at it where it's like, well, AI is taking over, it's making people lose jobs. In China, they're more so looking at it embracing it in a type of way, but they're a different society than we are. So I think when we talk about the empire falling apart and us, not going kicking and screaming, I do think Matt's right in the sense that a portion of people are going to pretend that nothing is happening and that we're winning and nothing, this is still the best place in the world to live. But more and more people are retiring outside the United States because they can't afford to retire in the United States. More and more people are leaving the United States because it doesn't give you the highest quality of life. People are dying or getting sick in the United States on mass rates. And so when we look at that constitutes a dying empire because the population is suffering. But simultaneously, the elite are not losing. They're just moving their resources into the sectors that are going to continue to make the money, and that's war and the AI sector and the battle for these resources, whether it's minerals that we have in Africa and Latin America, or water, the control of the water, which the Strait of Hormuz is also, I mean, when you look at that, the control of the ports, the control of these channels that allow the movement of these supplies, that's what this is about. It's truly about these resources.
All right. Well, just to remember, I mean, I think the globalist, it is the stakeholder capitalism of sorts. That's and people still are arguing about this whole communism versus capitalism thing. It just blows my mind. I keep trying to figure out why people are supporting Donald Trump, during as the ship is going down. And obviously the tribal cultish mentality definitely plays a part where you got to be one side or the other side, and you can't be open-minded and you can't see what's happening, because this is a shift, I think, fam, from what we're seeing now to like these global elites just kind of colonizing and taking over everything. I think that there is a rare earth minerals. We're talking about cobalt, lithium, nickel, those things, and there's going to be a fight for who controls them, and that's going to be who controls the planet. Unless Elon Musk can pull off mining asteroids out there flying all around. Just look out for people fighting for those rare earth minerals here at home. So, guys, all the ways to help the show are down below, and the links are down there. You can always help out independent media. Congratulations to Fee. She's back. She just announced she just got married. A lot of people are saying congrats. So congrats once again. Fam, we were in Latin America. We were in Peru, and there's shit going down in Peru. I still can't believe that Keiko is the president of Peru. If you haven't heard, Peru sits on the lithium triangle. There are rare earths there that I think that a lot of the global elites want to control. And those global elites, they got their candidate, fam, when it comes to Keiko Fujimori. Am I right or am I right?
Yeah, fam. I mean, unfortunately, and I consider the two elections, the last two in Peru and Colombia, both were fraudulent elections. It was just the way it was conducted at the end. The counting, we always talk about the counting, was extremely suspect. In fact, Keiko lost in Peru. She, quote unquote, won with the votes from abroad, which you can't control. It's done abroad. There's no way for anybody to actually really see. And Marco Rubio got a hold of the vote tallies and said that the United States was wanting a certain result, and then they got the result they wanted. And this is an unpopular candidate, a candidate that was, of course, the daughter of a former dictator who really had a lot of crimes that fell on him, international human rights abuses and so on. We've talked about this. And, when we were there, actually, Pasta, there were protests against her inauguration, because her inauguration happened a few days after my wedding. And they had a lot of closures, a lot of security officials from the United States, delegations from the United States showed up there. There was also a delegation from China, and I can talk about this later. But the thing is, Peru is the one country, though, I don't think will turn away from China because their economy is extremely embedded also with China via the Shanghai port and also via a lot of the businesses that are in Peru that have ties to China, and the business people are actually pro-China and pro the US. So it's actually one of the places that I don't think we're going to see a full turn away from China. It'll be a little bit more sneaky in that regard. But in terms of Colombia, which is what I want to focus on this time around, because Colombia has endured a devastating earthquake, 7.4. And this is another thing we can discuss. And I don't mean to laugh, but it's kind of ridiculous. Within a month and a half, there was 2 back-to-back earthquakes in Venezuela, right? After the US and Israel made their presence known in Venezuela. And Matt and I, we kind of were along the same lines of, this is really shady. This is very interesting. Like, how is this happening right now in Venezuela? Well, a same type of earthquake, right along 7.4 type of magnitude, just occurred in Colombia. And as you know, that was within just days of the takeover of Abelardo de Espriella, who is the new right-wing US-backed president, who has already said they recognize the Golan Heights for Israel and has already made numerous ships to go back to Israel when Gustavo Petro had done the opposite. So we're at a point where the majority of Latin America now belongs to, I wouldn't say belongs to, but is on its way to fully belonging to the full control of the United States and Israel. And this is really troubling, I think, because when they have everybody so focused on what's going on in Iran and in this hemisphere, in the Americas, they're already cementing the plans to completely control all of these sectors. And if something ever were to happen to, say, Israel, right, they already have the mechanisms to move abroad, and they already are moving abroad and buying up businesses and buying up land. So these are the things that I think we need to look ahead, because this is the sneaky type of Don Rowe doctrine imperialism. It's not the same as before. Now there's a tag team between the United States and Israel. Before I just go on that, I want to hear your thoughts on all of that, guys.
Matt, you've been paying attention. So you had to take the first stab at it.
Yeah, and I, not to pat my back and Fiorella's back, but no, well, of course we were suspicious of the earthquakes in Venezuela. We were suspicious of the Colombia earthquake. These are all well above 7 on the Richter scales. The 7, it was in Venezuela particularly, was 7.2, followed by an aftershock 7.3, which is fascinating as it is. This one was a 7.4. We've seen so. What's happening here is the timing. We look at the timing of this and the control mechanism of the Western, military industrial complex, led by Israel, not so much by U.S. Now, look, we have the history of going in and stealing resources, stealing minerals, and that's been talked about out loud by many, military leaders. We've heard the blueprint to that, how we go around and steal everything. How we're now controlling the elections. We're seeing this absolutely as clear as day. Petro has told us this in Colombia. He says, we're looking at the data from that election where Espriella was handpicked, put right in play. And when you look at the data from the election results, you can see there's Israel spyware inside the election data. He showed us this. It's fascinating. And so when you look at that, and of course, Venezuela, what did we do there? We just went in and kidnapped Maduro, and he's still sitting in a prison in New York with no due process. And so you have so many factions of the American population being okay with this. It's absolutely phenomenal. And we can talk about the radical commie Democrats who are not. They are absolute warmongers, and we're looking at every one of these people, from Mamdani to El Said, saying no, we have to continue our reign of terror throughout Latin America. Not to mention Ukraine, which also has stepped up and said we want to be the next Israel. So what is this? What is this Israel plan? What is this thing? You guys are talking about this part's important. The part that if Israel falls, they need a plan B. Argentina was always that plan B. That was actually on the table well long ago, as that was supposed to be the original Nakba. So Argentina's been there. They were like the first. We should have recognized this years ago. And the way Mali and everything's been so out in the open with the forest fires. We've covered this. This was months ago. We told our audience this was happening. This Latin America takeover of Israel was happening, and we could see it. We can go down the list and see one after the next, and Colombia is no exception. Why the earthquakes? So I see it in the chat. We're talking about HARP technology. This is patented material that says we have the technology to create earthquakes. This is what we have, and it's locked and loaded and ready to go when we need it. So why do we need the earthquakes? Well, you create this humanitarian crisis. You bring in these humanitarian NGO groups direct from Israel. Make no mistake about it. The Israel NGOs are on the ground right now, harvesting kids, taking them away. We've seen this in Venezuela. This is happening right now, guys. And you got the Clinton Foundation there. And so you have IDF soldiers, Clinton Foundation people that have a history of child trafficking and murdering kids. At least the IDF does. So how can anyone be okay with IDF soldiers going through rubble of destructed homes, looking for missing children? Really? Does that make any sense to anyone at all? So we can expect that's the next move to happen in Colombia. Why the earthquake in Colombia? Why does this happen on the same day, as Fee mentioned, that Esparella is saying, no, Golan Heights, we're recognizing it. He literally did it the same morning. This was Monday morning. It's like, I think if you look at the timestamp, it was happening in the exact same hour that the earthquake was happening. It's unbelievable. So let's look close at this and see in the next few days, the next week or so, it's going to follow the same blueprint as Venezuela. And I'm telling you guys, like no one's reporting on this, but no, this is the people that show up are going to be the ones that create more chaos, more like I said, the child trafficking element is in play. And then you got more control of not just the resources, but this part's also important. What is Israel bringing to the table that U.S. hasn't already done all these years? They bring one more thing they steal. There's one more thing they can do. The U.S. just steals minerals and resources. Israel steals the hearts and minds. That's the most dangerous part. And they've done it in Argentina. We've seen it during the FIFA takeover of the World Games. We've seen Argentinians at the World Games right here in this country showing up with their Israeli flags, celebrating all the brutality that the Argentina players can get away with and no one else can. They can beat the crap out of the other team. We covered this whole thing. And to see these Israeli flags being waved in the stands, the bullying of the other teams, all the other fans, all the other rules that that don't apply to them, and Netanyahu just basically chuckling in the background, saying, "Yeah, we're gonna get you." Now, thank God, somehow they didn't win that final one, and that's incredible that even happened. But make no mistake, this is an ongoing process that we're just in the middle of right now, guys. I think we're just at halftime here, as far as, excuse the sports pun, we're just at halftime of Israel's long game, and the U.S. being part of that, just completely capturing Latin America. And we need to be in front of this. We can't wait to play catch up and do a historical commentary on it after it's over. We have to be in front. Every earthquake, every election steal, we have to be in front. We have to yell about this and not wait to do it later when it's too late.
I got to say, seeing the earthquake in Colombia made me question about the whole HARP situation. Like once again, I won't say for sure I think it's HARP. I always said we have to factor it into the equation because we do have these weapons and they need to be looked upon. But in Colombia, it made me think like, wow, that timing is very convenient. We know either way, disaster capitalism, if something happens, the leeches or the vultures will be swooping in to grab off the carcasses, whether it was meant to happen or it happened, right? You can say the same thing about Gaza at the end of the day. Was that something that was planned, or is it something they're just taking advantage of? Who knows? But fam, why don't we dive into this subject? I do want to say, though, that them moving to Argentina, possibly Zionists colonizing Argentina, is kind of funny, the fact that that's where the Nazis ended up going. So maybe they'll be neighbors and open up breweries and hummus places
full
together.
circle.
It's crazy. when
It's
you
full
think about it.
circle.
crazy.
They are the same type of people at
Yes.
the end of the day. I mean, it actually makes perfect sense. I mean, this is where Argentina is the perfect place for them to go. I mean, people get mad about this, but they have the reputation for a reason. People aren't just making this up. I do think that not everybody that supports Argentina, the team is like this or thinks like this. A lot of poor people, and I do have to say this, a lot of poor people who watch football, support their team because this is what they do. This is the Latin American thing to do in these countries. Not everybody is a Zionist. In fact, the majority of people are not. But there's a reason why, especially with Milei as president, there was such a fervent welcome of Zionists there, and there's a history to be back there, and Chile in particular, of fascism that makes it very, very easy for that to take place. It's a lot harder in the spots where there's more indigenous opposition and uprising, like Bolivia or like Peru or like these places. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for them, but when it comes to Argentina and that area, I think that there's a reason for that. So I do want to just go over this for a second. So Colombia had this devastating earthquake. There's a video. Jayme, you can go ahead and play the video with no volume if you can by Suppress News. And they said at the time of the earthquake, they decided to make a statement for Israel instead of addressing their people. Colombia suffered a 7.4 magnitude earthquake, but their government decided that it's time to recognize Golan as part of Israel. This earthquake has been devastating. It affected the western parts of Colombia. It affected, and you can play it as I talk, it affected Cali. It affected, the epicenter was in western, very working class areas of Colombia. There was there was hospitals, schools, entire neighborhoods entirely just completely demolished. I mean, this is a really strong earthquake, as they were also in Venezuela, and there are still people missing. Hundreds of people are dead, thousands are missing or completely displaced. So when the government, as Matt said, on that same day, right, and you can see in the tweet under that, it says Colombia recognizes the sovereignty of Israel over the Golan Heights. And so they set out a statement. We knew that, of course, with Abelardo de Espriella, this was going to happen. We knew that he was the guy for Israel. We knew that this was going to be the road, but it was very quick. And Gustavo Petro had just done a speech for leaving the presidency, saying we have a president that is not the real president of Colombia, that is an imposter, and that Colombia is now effectively a colony, he said. He said it. And he's like, Colombia's a colony. And so when the former president of Colombia tells you that, and he's like leaving, he has no reason he's not campaigning, he's not trying to be the favorite. He tells you that it's because he really believes that, and he really has seen the evidence to support that. As Matt said, he was the one to say that Israel is the only country with the technology, to be able to interfere in these elections. And of course, with Israel is the United States. We know that they wanted Abelardo de Espriella. We know that they wanted him to win because this was going to go in the direction that they wanted. And here we are. We're already seeing these things happen. So it is really, really terrible for Colombia, what we're seeing happen in Colombia. But this is something that's expected when you have a president that is 100% supportive. Colombia and Peru have also said they're joining the Shield of Americas, which is Donald Trump's Miami, enacted a little team of wannabe superheroes where they're basically just going to do the foreign policy of the United States. They're basically committing to following the Donroe Doctrine with the Shield of the Americas. And that's no coincidence that happened, of course, along the same lines of the Isaac Accords in Argentina, which is where we're seeing the incoming of Israel into Latin America. So that's just Colombia right now. And I have friends and family that are still looking for their loved ones in Colombia, so there's a lot of people that are receiving donations all over for people that have experienced and back to back. I mean, as soon as the Israeli-U.S. presence is there, I just find it so odd. I don't have the evidence to say it is HARP either, but I just the timing is really. I mean, what world do we live in that everything just seems to favor the United States and Israel at an impeccable time right now? It's just who is going to be the one who is able to say rebuild, who is able to amass the residencies of these areas? I mean, Israel has already, by the way, stated that they are giving aid to Colombia. And the United States has also said they are giving aid to Colombia immediately, quickly, in millions of dollars. So this wouldn't have happened if Abelardo de Espriella wasn't the president. If it was, a Gustavo Petro type of president, or Ivan Cepeda, who was the other candidate, this wouldn't have happened. So, yeah.
Yeah. A couple things I'd like to point out real quickly. The technology for stealing this election, and I wish we would have been there to see a little bit more. Is not that advanced. It's not a hard system, right? It's a flipping mechanism. It's proprietary software. We've talked to the magistrate there. And even though that there is transparency at the polling spots and they do the counting there, the official result is dependent on the mainframe tabulation at the tabulation center in Bogota. So that's the final number there, right? And in the case of Colombia, and this is just like they're walking hand in hand, right? This is also to assure the contracts. And by the way, from what I understand, Pedro Gustavo never really cut back on a lot of the military contracts with the United States. I think if Cepeda got in there, you would have saw a real big hack to it. And there seems to be something going on a little bit in the inside in Colombia when it comes to maybe Cepeda and Gustavo Petro. I think that's going to play itself out, and we'll see more of that. If Gustavo Petro decides to take the lead and run again and pushes aside Cepeda, I'm very cautious of that, because Cepeda is more of the activist. It's like when we talked to the Communist Party of Bogota, the head of the Communist Party of Bogota, fam, we were there. They weren't even that excited about Gustavo Petro. They said he was the great stepping stone, the compromise candidate of sorts to get to the next spot. He was the bridge candidate. Cepeda seems more like that guy that they would want to get in there, more of the activist, a guy who filled rooms when he went speaking in Mexico during AMLO's time, when he was brought out there quite a bit. So there's something interesting going on. But when I explained to people when I was talking about Thomas Massey's election, the principal players were Blackstone, not BlackRock, but Blackstone. But I explained to people, even though it's Blackstone that also wanted Thomas Massey out, right? Because Blackstone, BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, all connected to Wall Street, all connected to the military-industrial complex, Raytheon, whatnot. Principal owners are stock owners in the United States. Just because it was Blackstone as the principal player there doesn't mean that Israel wasn't involved, and vice versa in Colombia. I think people have to understand that the empire is now walking hand in hand with Israel as their colonization project takes place. American dollars is more prevalent down there, and that's something they never want to see. They never want to see Colombia drift off and go more into a BRIC system or an other optional system other than the United States. So these companies are walking hand in hand, including, and you will see an increase in IDF training in Colombia for soldiers. United States military hardware and guns will keep flowing over there. So I think people have to understand now who these global players are. Getting back to what Fiorella said in the beginning of the show, this is more about moving away from these nation states and into this globalist kind of rule. And I think that's where the battle lies, and it lies there in Colombia as well. So much, right? So much is dependent on the West, the banking system to stay in place, the dollar being the monetary system that they want to use. When then you go to any of these Latin American countries, you can use the American dollar, and they want to make sure that stands still. So this is a united decision right now between this oligarchy, this globalist mindset that's coming to take over. And it's very scary, fam, because when you look at a lot of these maps, and I think I put one of the maps in there, I mean, Brazil, yeah, your choice is a vaccine salesman or a Zionist, but who do you want? Because if Flavio Bolsonaro wins the next election in Brazil, that means Israel and the United States has pretty much got a hold of the whole freaking continent, the whole all of South America. They've gotten in their grasp. That wasn't the case 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago, when we were talking about these socialist governments actually gaining power. Everything is flipped on its head, and it's flipped on its head for the worst. Sorry, Matt, you can go ahead, buddy. Yeah.
No, I think that, we're watching this happen in real time. It's happening very fast. We know, Israel and the genocides and the, land grabbing, the ethnic cleansing happening all around them. Every single neighbor. It's like and this happening simultaneously. It's really about speeding everything up. And I think it aligns with, we talked earlier about, Trump's policies and the way he's conducted himself these last 2 years. It's all aligned. There's a fast track element to all of this. And so I think it makes we have to work overtime staying ahead of this. And I think language is important, because I know people get turned off when we come and try and get in the front of it. And people say, well, you didn't present all the evidence that you needed before you can make a claim. And I said, look, let's help each other and educate people about the process. The process of journalism is you look into things, right? And more than ever, we have to be suspicious. Every one of these happenings, every election that looks shady, every natural disaster that looks shady, we have to ask those questions right away, not wait 20 years, like, 9/11. Oh, that looks like something we might have said. We should have said something about at the time. So we're in front of it. Evidence is different than proof. I want people to understand this. Proof, a lot of these cases and the things we're talking about, from Argentina to Colombia to all these other cases, proof is hard to produce when you don't have a judicial system going through the honest process of hearing a case throughout and going through everything in an honest way. If we're not able to do that in a lot of these cases, so having proof is very difficult. What we can do is produce evidence. Evidence is different. Evidence means that this is what you would theoretically submit in court, right? You would submit evidence, Exhibit A, Exhibit B. So we have that for Venezuela. We have Exhibit A, B, C, D on these back-to-back earthquakes. And so we do have evidence. So I want to tell people that we have, and so we have the obligation at that point to present our case. If it's not going to be in a court, which it won't, it has to be here. It has to be in the spaces we create. And so we go through Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C, and we come to our conclusions there. So again, so the next incident that happens, in this case, the Colombia earthquake, we have our suspicions right up front. We have to start collecting evidence and figuring out, does it check out with our suspicions? But they're never going to tell us what's really happening. They're never going to look into it. And I mean, the mainstream media, pundits, the ones that have been defending all this shit, these past several decades, our entire lifetimes, really. They're never looking into it. We have to do that. So we have to kind of run the justice system in our own way. And that's, I think, the only thing we can do. And again, stay in front of this and not be afraid to have a theory, a conspiracy theory, because that's what we need. We need to have these suspicions and always be skeptical. And that's how we have to do it from here on out. But every one of these things we're talking about, we've pretty much been batting 1,000 on every one of our suspicions over the last decade, I have to say. I mean, that's why we do these shows. I think we do this so we can follow through with these suspicions and see how far we can get with them. So from every one of these cases, from 9/11 to COVID and everything else before and after that. So, yeah, with that said, I do have to take off in a few minutes here, but yeah, I'm happy to wrap this segment up with you guys.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, Matt, I do want your thoughts on this. Look, on Venezuela, I think a lot of us know what's been happening in Venezuela for a while, since, of course, the United States bombed them and kidnapped their president. They were in a position, and they continue to be in a position of, a gun to their head. And it seems like the United States has officially, fully come in with its partner Israel and taking massive control of the policies of Venezuela, in spite of the fact that the Chavistas in name are in power. Now, according to my sources, there are people in Venezuela who are not happy with what's happening, in the government, but don't exactly know how to conduct this, because you have a Chavista government that is in power, but not really. So it's just this, it's a lot more complex. And, a lot of these, Dowsey sold out and that's it. Like there's a lot more to this. This is a government, Chavismo. This is a movement. This is a people that have been fighting for decades. this isn't just an easy, we're just going to take over and convince everybody with money to sell out. It's not that simple, but this is devastating what's happening in Venezuela, what we've been seeing happen to Venezuela. So this is what is going on. This is from Felix Plasencia Gonzalez. The governments of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and the State of Israel report that they have agreed to continue bilateral technical cooperation derived from the emergency and recovery efforts following the double earthquake, as well as to establish a coordination mechanism for the provision of consular services to their respective citizens residing in both countries. So they basically, apart from this, have reestablished relationships. This is something that Chavez forever spoke against. He hated Israel. He was one of the most ardent critics of Israel and ardent supporters of Palestine. And, seeing this happen, seeing Israel return to Venezuela, to help with the earthquake, rehabilitation and rescues, to help Venezuela, seeing the Israeli soldiers occupy hotels in Venezuela, seeing the reestablishment of relations with Israel, a state that Maduro himself called many times criminal, genocidal, is just not what the Chavistas, what represented Venezuela ever. And then we also have another tweet, right? And this is what I was talking about, is the consular relations are restored. Delcy Rodriguez has completely gone back with the 2009 severing of the relationships between Caracas and Tel Aviv. So this is, I think, devastating for a lot of people. People are definitely very emotional about this. And I know there's a map there that shows, I don't think it's entirely accurate because some of these were not left-wing to begin with, but when we're seeing this map of basically the takeover, right, of Israel and the United States, Pasa was right. If Brazil goes that route, basically, effectively, and Brazil is one of the most powerful players in Latin America, everything will be under the control of the United States of Israel, the United States of Epstein. And this is something that's key to how you analyze geopolitics going forward as to why that is their number one go-to. That is a question everybody should be looking at. One thing I do want to point out, though, is one of the things that was in the news was the ICC backing, right? Venezuela wanted to withdraw from the ICC, but they've been wanting to do that since before Maduro was removed. Back in 2025, Venezuela had decided, the National Assembly had approved legislation to withdraw the country from the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. So this was planned before Delcy Rodriguez took over. So that tells you a couple things. It also tells you that there was fear in Venezuela if there wasn't some sort of accusation, because if we do recall, Maduro did open up the party, did open up the government to the opposition. He wanted to have conversations with the opposition. There was a bit of an opening up before all this happened. In spite of that, the United States still went in there, kidnapped Maduro, and currently, of course, he's in prison with his wife. So I just want to hear your thoughts on all of that. I mean, for me, it's devastating to watch what's happened to Venezuela, but at the same time, it's not surprising based on how we've seen the United States basically take over the country.
Well, I'll have to say, Fiorella, and I've spent some time in Venezuela, and I made a documentary about Chavez and Maduro, and basically everything that the pressure they've been under for years, and how many assassination attempts. And even when Maduro took office, he claimed publicly that Chavez did not die from cancer; it was poison by the U.S. Imperialist machine. So that's something, and all of the severing from Israel, but the willingness to have open discussions and all this, like playing the politics of it. They do have a history of that, and I know we've talked about the Chavistas. We know how they on the ground they are like Spartan to the end. We will not crack. We will not waver. But behind the scenes, there has been this diplomacy element to that government, to those both of those administrations. And I think a lot of that comes from the avoiding of the assassinations, and Maduro has avoided a bunch of them until he was kidnapped, right? So this is a different philosophy than what we've learned about Iran. And I just want to put that out there, that Iran is ready to take the hit, ready to die for the cause, not avoiding assassinations, right? They stand firm. They don't go into hiding. This is a different mentality. I think that's maybe a blessing and a curse for Venezuela, is that they were willing to do the diplomacy at the same time, standing their ground against not just Israel and US, but against the Epstein class. That was the other part of it. And that's what Petro had been talking about in Brazil as well, in Colombia as well, talking about we stand against the pedo protector, the psychopaths, right? Epstein class. That's really what it came down to. And Maduro was certainly vocal about that before he was kidnapped. So what we're seeing in Venezuela right now, we're seeing this, and I know it's really hard to grasp it, because it doesn't feel like the Chavistas way, right? It doesn't feel like that. But how do you infiltrate that type of mentality, that Chavista mentality? You infiltrate it because the vulnerability is the diplomacy element, is the playing the politics. And we're seeing this right now. We're seeing the full 100% capture of this sitting government right now in Venezuela. And you add the earthquakes and the let's go bring in the Israel aid. They literally are bringing in the NGO. It's called Smart Aid, and they're there right now stealing children out of the rubble. That's happening right now as they're changing their policy. And as that article you put up, they're warming their relationship to Israel. It's all 100% infiltration. And I feel so bad for the Chavistas on the ground in the street right now. It's like, what do they do? What can they do? You almost have to look over at Iran and say, when the oligarchy ruling class empire comes for you, what other choice do you have but hold your ground and say, no, we're not negotiating. Come and get me, mother effers. We will die for what we believe in. Maybe that's the model. That is the new model, what Iran is setting. And I would say in the other Latin American countries that are like, oh, what's happening next? We're on the chopping block next. They might need to look at that and not let what happened to Venezuela happen to them. Take Iran as I would say, setting that new precedent of how you fight back against the Epstein class. That would be my takeaway.
I think that's the only way, Matt, to how you fight back. Unfortunately, Venezuela, Iran has the ability to fight back military-wise, but they also have the mentality, which is something that you pointed out, the mentality, the spirituality, that I think in a government setting, I think that's what's missing. I think Chavez had more of that mentality, and that spirit of fighting till my last breath that we didn't see at that extent. And there have been, you're absolutely right, there have been a lot of concessions and negotiations before Delcy Rodriguez in the Maduro administration, which is why a lot of people said, well, Maduro is not Chavez. And this isn't in any way to blame Maduro for what's happening, but just to say that there are differences. Just like, for example, in Cuba, they have been extremely willing to negotiate with the United States, to open up businesses, and still the United States, it's not enough for them, because it will never be enough. And this is why I agree with you that the only solution is to really say, come and get me. Because even if that is, and I don't want to ask people to sacrifice themselves, right, but if that strategy has worked, it seems to be the only one that's worked. Otherwise, any sort of giving in to the United States always ends up here, always ends up where Venezuela is at right now. That's just the way it is.
I think I have to cut out.
Matt, get on out of here. Let everybody know where they can find you. What you got going on?
Absolutely. Well, we have Homeless Left Tuesdays and Thursdays on Rumble. The Homeless Left, as Pasta mentioned at the top of the show, we had to start a second channel because on YouTube, the Homeless Left got removed, got terminated. Our conversations were too dangerous for the community. So we started another channel. It's THL Presents. You can see the Homeless Left in the title now, but you still have to type in the whole thing. They have us really censored on there, but we're going strong. THL Presents on YouTube. So that'll be Tuesdays and Thursdays every week, all afternoon. I think Pasta, you're coming on with us tomorrow, I believe. Yes, so we'll have a good show planned for you guys. And we always try to stay out in front of it. Oh, by the way, I will be, if you guys, I don't know if there's going to be live streaming, but I will certainly be capturing this event over the weekend in Chicago. I'll be with Caleb Maupin at the CPI official national convention. I'll be speaking at that event on Saturday the 15th, and hopefully,
That's this
aligning
Saturday,
with some other anti-imperialist activists and journalists out there. CPI National Convention in Chicago, August 15th. Caleb Maupin. You guys should check out his Twitter and look at how you can get involved and be part of that, especially if you're in the Chicago area. You definitely want to check that out this weekend on Saturday the 15th.
You got it. Thank you, Matt.
All right. You got it. Take care, guys.
You got it.
Bye.
So one of the ways the conservative movement really kind of infects our policy making, because I honestly believe, him, that the national, party that's holding the party that's holding office nationally sets the tone for what the states do individually, and then that in turn gets the counties to act and the cities to act. And with this conservative tough on crime, the immigrant is the problem, we've seen an explosion of flock cameras everywhere throughout the United States. They are all over them. And this definitely does come from the tough on crime mentality. And we have also seen some voices. We've seen a unified front, people on the left, people on the right, independently, speaking up and pushing back against these flock cameras. I've been saying, get your ass up, go to a city council meeting and let them know if they have flock cameras in your city to not renew, don't renew the contract. Take the cameras down right now. Claim that it's unconstitutional. And this is a city council I have here. Some guy went and spoke. Pretty awesome. Take a look, guys. You're watching the TruthWire. All the ways to help out the show are in the description. Gabrielle Freedom's in the chat. She's given up a lot of information the way you can help us on out. Thank you so much. We appreciate you watching us. We're back after a 3-week layoff. This is a city council talking about flock cameras here in the United States of America.
Howdy, y'all. My name is Dr. Vietrin. I'm a professor at Ohio State University. At the Ohio State University, my areas of expertise include crime, surveillance, and policing. I've been doing this research for 14 years now, first at the University of California, and then at Yale, and now in Columbus. It is my professional opinion that flock is a dystopian violation of our rights. And what I mean by that is that it inverts the very nature of how police are supposed to function. So in traditional investigations, a crime is supposed to happen first, and then detectives are supposed to identify a list of plausible suspects, and then those suspects are placed under investigation. But under flock, everybody in this room, every day, every time we get into our cars, we are all under investigation at all times for all crimes. Then when a crime actually does occur, the police have a list of pre-investigated suspects. That's you, that's me, that's everybody in this room who gets in a car, that's everybody in this city. So today in Columbus, our constitutional rights, especially our Fourth Amendment rights, are flagrantly violated every single day as a matter of regular government policy. Let me phrase this another way. Today I've heard a lot in these chambers about investigating crimes. I've heard that a lot. Flock lets us investigate crimes, flock lets us prevent crimes. But it's my position that this is actually a misnomer. Despite what others have said here, flock does not investigate crimes at all. It is not a tool for investigating crimes. And that misnomer has apparently bamboozled several people in this room. Flock is, at its very foundation, a tool for investigating pre-crimes. Not crimes, but pre-crimes. So others in this room have implied that we can reform flock, we can have flock and preserve our civil liberties. We can make this technology work for us. We just need to install more safeguards. We just need to install more protections. We just need guardrails that will prevent abusers from stalking their ex-girlfriends. Yet the very nature of this technology, that is the technology as a tool for investigating pre-crime, categorically precludes that. This is not a technology that can be reformed or regulated or managed. It is not a technology that can be made righteous. On this matter, we cannot and we can never have our cake and eat it too. To believe otherwise is hubris, and to be frank, I have seen a baffling amount of hubris in this chambers today.
Fam, can we not have our flock and eat it too?
No, fam. And there's so many flock cameras. I'm in Florida right now. There's so many.
They're all over. Yeah.
So many. Jonathan was pointing them out, actually. I didn't know there were that many. So many when you drive along 95, I believe. I-95 it is, and I-4 and all of these interstates. It's it's crazy. And the thing is, they use, and this is what I've always said, they use the mechanism of, well, we're going to catch those pedophiles, we're going to catch those kidnappers of your children very quickly with the flock cameras. But they don't talk about the other side of it, which is it's not mainly used for that. It's mainly used to data mine you, to look at everybody else, as this man said, as a suspect before there is a crime. And so we're entering, of course, the era of the, we have been actually in this era of the pre-crime, right, of the Minority Report aspect, and also of the Skynet, which is essentially already being built. And pretty much with a flock camera, they will go and criminalize you. They could form a case against you without you having done anything, and they have video evidence to prove it. So that would be in the extreme, right? And in the non-extreme, it's just the fact that you don't have any privacy anymore. And so this is, I think, a conundrum for a lot of conservatives that have always said that they're for law and order, but they're also about their civil liberties. Well, your civil liberties have completely gone out the window with the flock camera. So you have to make a decision as to, do you actually really care about your civil liberties? Because with the flock cameras, you're never going to get them back. And I have a feeling that unless there's a mass uprising against these cameras, they're here to stay, under of course, the auspice of security, safety, just like, we were told with COVID and everything else that we've been told, that it's all about our safety and security, and that we should just accept it and be okay with it. So,
yeah. By the way, can you imagine if they had the flock cameras in during the pandemic, during the lockdowns? And that's what they were putting. A lot of people think that they're putting these in play is during the next lockdown. Forget about it. They'll catch you walking everywhere with the facial recognition. And I want to expand it a little further. And the next city council I haven't even listened to it yet, fam. I figured we could listen to it together, that I was not going to be just kind of cherry picking the ones I want. I just want to say, okay, let's watch this all together for the first time. You might have seen this out there, but this is one that went up. But fam, in a lot of these areas too, as well, and the people who still go along with ICE, I'm saying, even though they're unconstitutional and they've been told they can go into people's houses without a judicial warrant, they can just use what they call an administrative warrant, which is not such a thing. It's made up. You can wipe your ass with it. It's against our Constitution. It's unconstitutional. These cameras are also to catch the immigrant, to catch the criminal, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? And these cameras are very racist. And when your civil liberties are taken away, guess whose civil liberties are taken away first? Immigrants, black people, minorities. So, when you are fighting against these things that are taking away our civil liberties, you are actually fighting for the poor and marginalized communities, because those are the ones that always get hit first. Let's watch this other city council over here and see what they have to say. I haven't seen this. We're going to watch it together, guys. All the ways to help out the show are in the links down below. I want to thank all you guys for joining us today, and we are talking about flock cameras. So flock this.
My name is Tim McLean. I've been an Apex resident for 20 years as of this year. And I want to add my voice to the chorus that's pushing back against ALPRs, flock, and police drones. Thank you. I just want to say there's a reason that people all over this country are fighting back against these cameras right now. We've all seen it on the news. In Michigan, West Virginia, New York, residents have, out of desperation, cut down these cameras. In California, a driver just rammed his truck into 3 of them in a row. And in Florida, there's a retired man who has spent his days sitting in a lawn chair holding up a piece of cardboard just to block the camera's lens. These people are frustrated. They're worried about being tracked. And sadly, these people felt the need to take matters into their own hands. Nobody wants that. I don't want that. I know you don't want that. And it's not only individuals. City governments are canceling their flock contracts in Colorado, Oregon, Wisconsin, Tennessee, Washington State. Some of the biggest cities in the country, Los Angeles, Austin, Seattle, Flagstaff, have walked away. And even closer to home, Hillsborough and Pittsburgh have just done the same. Why? It's because the misuse keeps happening. There are not enough controls in place. In Arizona, a police officer used flock to track his own wife. In Mooresville, closer to home, an officer was just arrested for using flock to follow an ex-spouse. And in Georgia, 6 police employees were fired for searching the system to look up family members and acquaintances who had nothing to do with any investigation. 6 people fired in one department. And I want to be clear, every example that I just gave to you happened in the past 7 days, not the past year, the past week. Look, here's where I land. I trust our Apex police. I trust and respect our chief. I trust them with my life and my family's life. We all do. They were trained and they're doing this job. They've been doing this job long before any of this unchecked and unwanted technology existed. And I know that they are capable enough to keep us safe without a camera on every corner or more drones in our skies. We are Apex, the peak of good living. We are not Apex, the peak of surveillance. This is what I want to say. No more cameras, no flock, no Axon, and absolutely no drones. Thank you.
I don't know about that speech, man. That was okay, right? Like, that was all right. I don't trust these people, and it's okay if you trust them. And I guess he was trying to use the more, I don't know, the more liberal way of kind of, doing these things, saying, hey, it's more about the principle. No, I mean, if we don't trust law enforcement, we have a right to not trust law enforcement. It doesn't change the fact that this is against our Fourth Amendment rights. And what's bothering me, because you can see in the very next tweet, you spent your millions on cameras. The LAPD has decided not to renew its contract as well. And this is happening all over the place. But the thing that bothers me and what people aren't paying attention to is they didn't take this to the people before they put these up. This was a private public partnership in which they put these up without going to the constituents, without going to the voters and saying, do you want this or do you not want this? So already that bridge has been crossed, right? So what's going to stop them from putting up other hidden cameras right now that you can't see as much? I heard the Axon company. Now, I think Flock is going to take on its own meaning, right? Like, in other words, Flock is just a company, but Flock is going to be used like Q-tip is used. It's an ear swab, but everybody calls it a Q-tip. Everybody's going to call Flock cameras the cameras that are supposed to be meant to read your license plate, but they're really spying on us, right? So these other companies like Axon that they had talked about, they're a little bit more hidden, right? Conspicuous is the word, I guess, that you can say that they can hide. If they were able to go ahead and put these up without the permission from the voters of the district, without letting the public know, they had to get caught and told to take these things down. What's going to stop them from surveilling us in another way in the very future when we have no checks and balances and the state can just do this to us at any time? I mean, it feels like the goalposts have now been moved, and it's not just about, not renewing contracts. It's about the mechanism they already used to do this and what's going to stop them from doing it even more, fam.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm just that, I guess, jaded or realistic, I don't think that they would just remove them willingly. I think the pushback is capable of doing something, but I think that they're not going to stop. I think they would try again with something more inconspicuous that is not as easily detected. I mean, they've already legally installed all of the mechanisms required for any sort of opposition to national security to be basically a crime, right? remember in 2020, 2021, during the domestic terror threats, now everybody can be a domestic terrorist if you threaten the government in any way, shape, or form. If you speak out against Israel, that's also now some sort of terror threat. If you do X, Y, Z, so now, based on what we're seeing legally, they can pretty much get away with having these in the form of protection and national security based on everything that happened prior, whether it was January 6th and COVID. Now, all of this is going to be allowed. It's going to take more. I think it's great that people are going to city council, because honestly, that's where you can actually do changes in your neighborhood, city council. But it's going to take everybody doing that times 10 and then going at a federal level for this to stop. And it would take a different type of government to actually do it. But there's a lot of money. There's a lot of Israeli tech surveillance invested in this. And we know how the United States and Israel have basically are deciding to merge closer and closer when it comes to their tech and defense industry. So I have a hard time thinking this is just going to go away. I think it's going to require even more pushback at a higher level, and massive amounts of people protesting, which I have a hard time seeing that it's going to go beyond the usual people. I think most people, and this is because I'm back in the US, are just very much trying to survive. I mean, there's just countless layoffs happening. There's a lot of uncertainty in the job market, economically, and there's a lot of healthcare crises happening everywhere. So I just, people are not so attuned to this. People that pay attention to their community and their civil liberties and all of that, yes. But I'm not really seeing everybody else, the normies, really get out there and say something about this.
I do see a pushback, and it's kind of flooded the Twitter ways, at least, where people are pushing back against Flock. You do have people on the right, people on the left pushing back against this. I think it's going to take something even more, fam, too, as well. I think even though it's supposed to be enshrined in our Constitution, the Fourth Amendment, no unlawful searches and seizures, and this is exactly what it is. And I hate when you hear people say, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, fam, you got nothing to worry about. Like, shut up. Be principled. You said you were a constitutionalist. There's a reason why that's enshrined there. The Fourth Amendment is there for a reason, right? So stop with your bullshit. I don't care about your feelings and your thoughts and your ideology and the fact that you are okay with ICE, not allowing a due process. And now this is, once again, this is a complete shitting on this. And we've said this before. They'll do it to the immigrants now. They'll do it to you tomorrow. I think it's going to take an actual law. Here's something that's interesting too, fam. When you said when they can do it this way, they tried Flock to recruit into Uber to be a part of their whole system in their network. Jayme, go ahead. And turn all these Uber drivers with these these dash cams and whatnot. Got it, Jayme? Flock attempted to enlist Uber drivers and a large-scale ALPR network. Flock pitched a partnership using Nexar's dash cam to continuously scan plates, effectively turning 350,000 rideshare and delivery vehicles into ALPR readers. What could go wrong? Fam, like I said, remember when I forgot this dummy's name, right? Denise DeSouza said on all the drop boxes they should put cameras. And I'm like, the hell they should. What is it with these people who are supposed to be anti-fourth industrial revolution, anti-globalist, anti-Great Reset, buying in to the global, the Great Reset, buying into the globalist plan, the track and trace surveillance systems everywhere? Fam, it's mind-boggling that everything always gets turned upside down.
Yeah, I mean, they know how to find the mechanisms for people to just give in and create an exception, right? So for the conservatives, they know exactly what they can say. They can say, oh, it's going to protect you from the incoming, migrants that are coming in to take over the country. And so they're fine with it. And then for the liberals, it's like, well, it's going to save your children from the, evil pedophiles that are coming in and blah, blah, blah. And it's just going to protect you and keep you all secure in case there's a kidnapping or something. So they know exactly what to say to get people on both sides of the aisle to agree with what's happening. At the end of the day, they're agreeing to the same thing. It doesn't matter if they wear red or blue. And so I think I think that this isn't the moment to really talk about, ideologies in the United States. I think people just need to understand that they're being entirely corralled into very, very small corners where they're losing their civil rights and civil liberties simultaneously every single day, while the United States is continuing its bloodshed across the world, and they're not seeing any benefit from it. They're not seeing the benefit like they used to from World War II. They're not gaining anything from it. Things are getting more difficult for them. And I think there is a sector of people that are still a little bit confused as to, oh, is this just Trump? But I do think that younger generations are actually starting to see what's happening, and will eventually be the ones that are retaliating. I don't think it's going to happen with the older generations or even middle-aged generations, but I think it is going to happen with the younger generations that are kind of seeing what's happening on both sides, seeing the theater that's being pulled over them. And that is mainly because of how things are no longer optimistic for them. I think millennials were even sold the idea of, you can work hard, you have dreams, if you work hard, you can achieve this more optimistic worldview, whereas Gen Z and under are not being given this point of view. They're being told that they're dumb, they're lazy, they're online all the time. And so there's this kind of question that's lacking as to why people are online so much. Why is there mental illness? Why is there all of this stuff happening, that I think young people are questioning and saying, oh, wait a minute, there's something going on here that's not sitting right. And they don't have to be politically astute to be aware of it. So I do think that is happening. That is the hope I see in the United States right now, that I think is possible, but I don't think we're exactly there yet, sadly.
Create the idea of a problem, then propose their solution.
Yeah.
Here are Jayme, get the next clip up, please. The right wing is now Mr. Presley, or whatever his name is, Scott Pressler or Presley, the dude who's team sports. What's his name? Pressler? Yeah, whatever. Should the Republican Party make it a priority to ban flock cameras? I was like, the Republican Party's mentality of tough on crime is why there are so many flock cameras to begin with, you nut job. Why are we going to go depend on the assholes who created the problem to be the solution? Hard pass. Here they go again. Both parties are responsible for this. Both parties allowed this to happen. The Democrats bought into the security state just as much as the Republicans did. Don't kid yourself. They're just as much as part of the censorship and the shadow banning as the Republican Party. They're working together, and it's a two-party illusion. But I love the way that, the team or the side that literally created the problem is now going to go out there and trying to give you the solution. Democrats do it too. Here's Democrats deliver. Once again, these contracts are getting voided all over the place. The city of Cambridge, Massachusetts has officially suspended its contract with flock cameras. Democrats deliver, fam. You're taking down the flock cameras you put up, you assholes. Yeah. Give me a break. It's just ridiculous. And the last thing I have too as well, because I said, be ready for it, fam. It looks like every single issue out there, wedge, serious issue, culture issue, foreign policy issue, the Democrats are ready to come back. Donald Trump has been so ridiculous and over the top. He's almost making this look like something real. And they're out there. The Barack Obama 2028 shirts have now been, they're out there. There was somebody wearing one at go ahead, you can scroll up, Jayme. There was somebody wearing one. There it is. Obama 2028. Let's fix this. Fam, they are coming. things are so bad with the Republicans that they're going to try to sell you this again. They'll probably be successful. They've been able to do it for so long. But they got the clown face, the throw up, the green face, then the throw up, the release, all in one from Jayme CheeseSlice. Yes, I kind of feel that way. And that's all we got for today's show, fam.
Yeah, I don't know. Things are the same. They're just as dark as they were 3 weeks ago, guys. But yeah, I mean, there's always hope, right? There's always hope in other people. So keep hope alive, I guess. I don't know, but also be realistic when looking at things. And there's a lot of hopium when it comes to foreign policy, which is usually what I focus on. And I'm not really seeing why. There's always hope, but I think that things have to be looked on as they are in order for us to figure out how to get there, how to move forward. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have. I'm just coming back this week, so I'm gonna try to catch up and share some things with you guys. But other than that, yeah, it's been nice being back here with you, Pasta.
Thank you.
We'll see what we can do.
And if anybody wants to, of course, help out the show, we have all the links down below. Gabriel Freedom has been in the chat, giving links to as well. Interesting conversations today, guys. We're going to get back out there, get this moving. We do have a smaller crowd than usual today, but that's because we had some time off for Fee had some stuff going on, her wedding, and yada yada yada. But we'll get back to this, and we'll get this back on a regular basis. The best thing you can do at this point to help us out is like and share, and we'll need all the help with that as we get consistent with the schedule.
Jayme said there was a Fauci section.
Well, we talked about it at the beginning of the show before you got here. I wanted to leave it in there because Matt, you asked Matt to put some stuff in, whatnot. Matt kind of put some of that stuff in, but he dipped. But if you want to give us your opinion, because since you've been gone, I don't know if you saw it or heard it. We had a lot of discussions about this. Dr. Fauci pleaded the fifth, and he pleaded the fifth with a pardon with immunity, and you're not supposed to be able to do that because you can't be held responsible. President Donald Trump says he will respect Joe Biden's pardon of Dr. Anthony Fauci and will no longer challenge its validity. Why would he? He's part of the whole fucking thing, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump signed the executive order which laid the groundwork for the coronavirus protocols and the vaccine itself. He merged together with his executive order in September 2019. He merged together the security state along with the military industrial complex and all the health, food, the FDA, all the other regulations, the big pharma. He merged them together and allowed them a task force. Why are you going to have the military working with the FDA? Oh, well, Donald Trump knew what was coming himself. Trump says Biden didn't sign Dr. Fauci's pardon, but it would be difficult to prove. It's the pen, fam. It was the Biden Sleepy Joe and the radical left. They can't do anything. The most powerful thing a president has is the power of the pardon. I can't tell you what the law is. You have a lot of proof. You have to have a lot of proof. Excuse me. But people want to still act like this guy is somebody different. The Trump administration argued against religious exemptions. Let that sink in for a second. They argued against religious exemptions.
Isn't that crazy?
That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more to say on the COVID stuff, but just on Fauci alone, the fact that Donald Trump is not going against the pardoning tells you everything you need to know, guys. I mean, he was in on it from the start. So people who think that Trump or the Republicans that were in power were against what was going on in COVID are completely wrong. I think there were individuals that were, but as a whole, both parties, but the duopoly, the uniparty, were entirely in line with everything that happened and everything that continues to happen and everything that will continue to happen in the next pandemic that comes along. So,
and they have flock cameras to trace you when you're out and about next time, so you got to be careful. Guys, that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for joining us. Like we said, all the links are down below in the chat. We'll see if we can do a show on Friday, but we'll get a schedule going. Just pay attention. Keep on the lookout for the Truth Wire. We'll be there. I want to thank Jayme CheeseSlice on the 1s and 2s, Matt Weinglass, and everybody else. We love you guys. We'll see you next time. Truth out.
Bye, guys.